Hey, my name is Blake, and this is Lee. Some of the pastors at Christ Community Church, and there's a just ton of exciting stuff that has happened. And so today, we wanted to take just a minute to share with you where the church has been, where we are now, and where we're headed, and some exciting stuff that's happened along the way. And so, Lee, you're the one who's kind of been here since the beginning. You tell the story, know the story like no other. So take us back a little bit on this journey.
Yeah, thanks, Blake. Man, we're just totally excited about Christ Community Church. And we can remember in July of 2009 when God called us to do something we never would have imagined, and that is be a part of an actual church plant. And we had a lot of fears and uncertainty, but as we journeyed in that, Hebrews 13 became the vision for us. And Hebrews 13 talks about doing things that are uncomfortable, going to places that you normally wouldn't go, because that's where Jesus went for us. And so we should be willing to join him outside the gates. And so as we did that, we were intent on sharing the gospel that changes lives, and that happens through Jesus. And so Jesus talks to us about the Great Commission and the Great Commandment, which is, to love God and to love people and endeavor to love community and to do that as a community of believers. So that's kind of where it was when we started, and we've been on the adventure now 5 years. So it's been crazy.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
So we've learned just in watching kind of the church world over the years, that church planting is really hard, and a lot of them, quite frankly, don't make it. And so here we are, 4 or 5 years into this journey, and we're still kicking. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that you're a really uniquely gifted leader. But tell us about what God has done, just not only in your leadership, but in the leaders that have kind of been raised up through this.
Yeah, that's a great question. One is, we really believe God called us to do this. And we stood on his word that never fails. And when you have that, and you can rely on his faithfulness and not your own strength, you can always draw back to that. And that's been something that God has proved over and over again to us. And the other thing is that Christ Community has always been concerned with one person at a time, but it's never been about one leader. It's always been about a team. And so in the beginning, we had a launch team, and then a team of leaders came together, and then those leaders began to multiply. And as you can imagine, as an initiator and a starter and a church planner, that brings me such great joy to see people catch that vision. And so as leaders continue to multiply, our influence continued to grow in the community. We began to build relationships with a lot of people that weren't in church. And what was cool about that, and what's unique about my journey, is that I never left my job. I continued to do this as a volunteer lead pastor planter, and have done that for 5 years. And that's been incredible and very unique. Maybe some people say less than a 1% chance that something like that could happen. And so I've stayed involved with the marketplace and been able to focus on the strengths that I've been able to bring to the table. And all these other people that God has brought along have owned their passions and their parts. So that's really what's made it work.
Yeah. So here you are. You own your own real estate business and your church planting. At what point in the journey did the story start to change? It started to really just, you just kind of stand there and say, I don't know what's going on, and we've got to do something.
Yeah, that's great. When we opened our gatherings at 10-10-10 at Southside Elementary, that was an amazing marker in the ministry. I mean, we'd been meeting at a paint store. Then we went to my house, and we were meeting in the basement. People really thought we were crazy. Then we started meeting at Southside Elementary, and the way God brought that together was a great affirmation. We began to minister in that school. And Southside Elementary, we love you. You're awesome, and so many other partners that we've made along the way. But essentially, about October of last year, I began to see that the movement had really gone beyond an initiating skill, a starting type mantra, and really beyond what I ever would have imagined it would have been. And just the individual stories and the collection of stories that God continues to bring, and the baptisms and all the things we're able to do with investing in missions and all this stuff. So last year, I began to put together what I thought would be a good plan of succession, not only for my leadership, but for the leadership of the church going forward. That we needed to have a plan to be able to grow from a leadership perspective as the church has grown. And that's kind of really October of 2013 to where we are now. We put that plan forward in front of the elders, and they received it. We began to pray over it, and sure enough, God began to bring that plan together. It's probably the only time I've had a decent plan that seemed to work at all in this church. One big piece of that plan, though, was you, Blake, and what God's been doing in your life over the last year. And I've walked with Blake for the last year and a half, and we've sharpened each other, we've helped each other, and we've both grown in the faith and following Jesus. And so I've been really excited about what God's calling you to do, to be the new leader in our church. And I totally affirm that. The pastors affirm that. Our church affirms that. And so this is an exciting new ministry for Christ Community. And after 5 years of me serving and initiating starter role, it brings me great joy and pleasure to see the new season take hold and God to bring a leader like you to lead us. And so I'm kind of excited about that. But I know that the people that are watching want to know, well, what do you think about that, Blake? I mean, how did you get to this point? You've heard my story, and I tell it all the time. Mm-hmm. How did you get to that point of knowing this is what God had for you and what was next for your family?
Sure. And that sense of calling is something that's been so important to us, no matter if we're talking about a lead pastor or a community group leader. Yeah. We really just value when God calls people. And so as you know, part of my story, God called me to be a part of the church a little over a year ago. And there was basically no job description. And so over the last year, we've just journeyed in this. And I think it's safe to say probably neither of us knew that we would be here now. And that's the beauty of what God has done. And just the way that God's grown my faith, being around you, the people of Christ Community, right. And the faith steps that you've taken along the way have challenged and encouraged me. And so I'm really excited about who Christ Community is as a church. What a blessing to be a part of something so healthy and something that's seeking to be like Jesus in all that they do. But I'm also really excited about what's next. We know some of the things they aren't going to change. We're going to continue to minister to one person at a time. We're going to continue to see the gospel grow as we gather together and as we meet in homes. And we're just going to continue to ask the question, how do we best love God, love people, and love community? And that may mean different things. It may be things that I don't even know yet. But that's the exciting part about seeing a faithful God work in that. And we know that no matter what, we're gonna remain committed to our mission, and we're gonna keep telling people stories. We're gonna keep sending believers outside the gates, and we're gonna keep serving as many people as we can. And so just excited and really humbled and honored to be considered a leader, and just look forward to leading and serving like Jesus would the best that I can. So we're excited about that. But I know the question that so many of us have is, okay, Lee Webb, we know you don't just go sit somewhere. You can't do that. So what's next for Lee and Rachel Webb and for your family?
Well, we're really excited about this next season of life because we have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and one on the way at the end of September. And so we're really excited. And I'm very eager to be the best husband that I can be and the best father that I can be to these little ones. So that's my main focus. The other thing is, this has been such an incredible journey for us because this is not a failure or something bad that's happened or a burnout on our part, just a real sense of God's leading and knowing that the time of transition is here. So we are excited to be a part of the next phase. So as committed members of Christ Community Church, we intend to stay here and be Blake's #1 cheerleader and to do something that I've not done, and that is to serve in the children's area. So I'm excited about that and probably be very challenged by that too. But after 5 incredible years, who would have ever imagined that this could happen? True gospel stuff, true God stuff, and we're just overjoyed with the whole thing. And so really what we want to say is thank you so much for trusting some crazy people like us to believe that God had something special, that He wants to reach people, and that people do matter, one person at a time, and that Jesus really is concerned about each and every one of us. So thank you to our past staff. Thank you to the current staff. Thank you to all of our ministry partners. You know, as the church has grown, all of these ministry partners have grown with us as we've served and tried to do our best to help them too. So thank you to our ministry partners, and thank you to the missionaries that are serving internationally for the sake of the gospel. Thanks for letting us be a part of that. We are excited, and we know this. This is just the beginning. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. So our big thing is, what's next, God? What do you have for us, and what do you have for the church? And we're committed to be here.
Yeah. Well, and on behalf of the church and many of the same groups that you mentioned, let me say thank you. And again, humbled to even represent the number of people that have been impacted by what you and Rachel chose to do.
Yeah.
And I want to sincerely thank you for responding to that spiritual unsettledness, and not just sitting there, but instead going outside. And so know that we're praying for you. And I think one of my specific prayers is that you would begin to just cherish some of those individual stories and see even more of the stories that have been impacted by the ministry that you have had and will continue to have here with Christ Community. So
Thank you.
We just want to, again, thank you for, if you've lasted this long with us, thank you for listening, and thank you for being a part, because if you are, that means that you've taken just an investment with Christ Community. And so we'd ask you to join us in those prayers and be with us as we figure out what's next on this journey with God.
Keep going outside.